Hello, it is I, Jenny Dale, your English librarian, and the purpose of this video is to show you how you can import items from our periodicals databases into Zotero, the citation management tool, and clean them up a little bit so that when you actually output them from Zotero, they are as accurate as they can be. So let's jump into it. So I'm going to head to this tab on our English 371 research guide. I'm going into American Periodicals Series. It's my favorite, but these tips will help you kind of regardless of the database that you're using. Okay, so I'm going to do a search here for library because that's what I'm into, and I'm going to do, let's say before this date. Let's say I want to do before 1800, just as an example. And let's also say that I want to focus just on articles because that might be the kind of thing that I would be looking for. Now, this video is not really about searching. I'm just showing you a search that I would do here. But if you do need help searching or using Zotero, please let me know. But there's my search. I get 376 results. Let's see. This sounds fun. Meditations in a library. So I'm going to click this title here so that I can see the full text of this source. And I can see it. There it is. I know that it's a little limited on my screen because of the way I need to be screen recording, but this gives you the idea. So I am going to pop over to Zotero, which I happen to have open in the background. I'm going to create a new collection, and I'm going to call it Periodicals Test. And there's my periodicals test collection within Zotero. Back over here, I'm going to click on the Zotero connector from my browser. I'm using Chrome. Clicking on it here, it's saving this to periodicals test. So let me go back over to Zotero here and see what I've got. Okay, so I am actually pretty happy with the way that title turned out. One thing that you might notice is that often it will pull in titles like you see here with this styling of everything being capitalized. That's not really ideally what we want. We'll take a look at one of those in a minute just so that you have a good example. But I'm going to head back over here. And this is the big thing that I'm going to suggest. First off, this is listing no author for this article. I didn't see one, but you always do want to double check. Sometimes the author might be listed at the end. Sometimes you will have sort of more of an anonymous author or someone who is, might be styled as like a lady or anonymous or whatever. You can make some decisions about how you want to include that author name. Sometimes even if there is one, Zotero doesn't understand it or doesn't pull it down. So just double check and make sure that there's really no author before you move forward. Here, when it just says last and first, that just means it is understanding that there is no author here. I often encourage folks in the title field to right click and change to sentence case. What I find in Zotero is that when you have made that change to sentence case, it's really much easier for Zotero to go back and forth between the different citation styles you might be using. I also am going to go ahead and take that period off of the end because, again, I want this to be flexible for different citation styles. Some will have a period after article title, some might have a comma. So cleaning that up so that it is as sort of simple as possible for the system to use. The next thing I'm going to do is do a little cleanup in this publication. So I don't know if you saw this. This is super common for these, particularly from this era, literary and sort of cultural or society magazines, to have these ridiculously long names. I'm going to encourage you to stick with what looks like the most important parts of the name. So to me, with this one, that's the American Museum, or Universal Magazine. This part here where it's containing essays on agriculture, commerce, etc. This is all just a description. And this bit at the end here with the sort of publication date range for the entire publication is also really not necessary because you've included the date range here or the date here for this specific issue and volume. So I'm going to clean this up. All of these fields are editable. So I'm going to get to the end of the Universal Magazine and then I am just going to clear the rest of this out. And isn't that nice? Isn't that just so much cleaner? So I have, I think, pretty much cleaned this up. I can take a look and see if there are other things I need to change. For example, I think this is all just on page 46. One thing that you can often do in these is take a look at the page view so that you can see the entirety of that page. And I do see right here 46. It looks like, though, if I am reading this correctly, it actually goes from 46 to 47. So I'm actually going to go ahead and fix that. I wasn't anticipating that, so good thing I made this video. So now I'm going to include this inclusive page range. Well, gotta have a dash. 42, 46 to 47. Struggling with my numbers today. There we go. Okay, so now I have this pretty cleaned up so that I know when I export this, it is going to be, again, as accurate as it possibly can be. Let's look at one more thing real quick before we wrap this up. Let's see if I can find one. Here's one. Okay. Let's take a look at this one and see what happens when I try to pull this down. Okay, this is doing more of what I would usually anticipate. So I'm heading over again to Zotero. First thing I'm going to do, once again, is I'm going to hover over this. I'm going to go ahead and put it in sentence case. I'm also going to take off this whole stylized bit here that's like in brackets, essentially, or square brackets, I guess they're called. I'm going to delete that. To me, that is not part of the title that I see over here. That's just sort of almost a subtitle that which we don't need to include in our citation. Just remember to think about what citations are for. They're for, letting your reader be able to figure out the path to get to the resource that you used. And so this in itself is plenty, I think, for someone to be able to get back. Now, I also want to point out there's a big old smudge here. But I'm pretty sure that what this is supposed to say is curious fact respecting the discovery of America, not Rica. So I am making some assumptions here. So, at your own risk. But I am going to go ahead and fix this of America. Now, when you do change something to sentence case like I did, one of the things you'll find is that it takes everything lowercase. So something that you will have to do as part of your cleanup is to go in there and capitalize the things that do need to be capitalized, like America in this case. Okay, so once again, looking back over here, I don't see an author's name. This is actually a very short little article. So I don't see a specific author's name. So that part is okay. The thing I'm going to do here, again, is I'm just going to take that date range off. We don't need to know the publication date range as part of the publication title. Everything else here is looking solid. So I think I'm in good shape. So those are just two examples of how you might clean up some of the things that you bring into Zotero from databases like this. If you do have questions about Zotero, I am happy to answer those for you as your English librarian. I will also be adding, maybe even before you see this video, a Zotero tab to your English 731 research guide. And I will, I most definitely will be doing that because I think that's where I'll put this video. All right, please get in touch with me if you have any questions, and thanks for watching.